Hey guys, stick around to the end of this short video. We're going to pose a question and we're going to take all those answers and enter them into a drawing for a $25 gift card to Amazon. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. I'm Derek Roush with VocalPoint Consulting and welcome to What's the Point, where our goal is to provide you with relevant and useful information around unified communications, contact center, and cloud services. Today I'm excited because we've got a really good conversation coming up with Dialpad. Specifically, we're going to be talking to Geoff Reimer, who's the Director of Sales Engineering over at Dialpad. We're going to talk to Geoff about what makes them different in this flooded UCaaS market. Let's go. So thanks guys for jumping in today. We're going to talk, like I said, with Geoff Reimer from Dialpad. So Geoff, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what your role is at Dialpad, and then maybe give us that 10,000 foot view of Dialpad and kind of your product set, where you're going, and maybe what sets you guys apart in the industry.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Derek. Great to be here. My name is Geoff Reimer, Director of Sales Engineering at Dialpad, based out of San Francisco, California. My role at Dialpad is I run our sales engineering team globally around the world. So all the sales engineers, all the pre-sales rolls up to me. I've been in this market forever, going back to Nortel, Avaya, Polycom, Fuse. Been very involved in being multiple roles across that, from implementation to project management to, in the last 10, 15 years, it's been all sales engineering and sales engineering leadership. So that's kind of how, where my role is at Dialpad. And we, across all markets, we align, from Dialpad being a product that aligns across all markets, from very small business to small, medium business to kind of that mid-market commercial space, and even into the enterprise is where Dialpad fits. It really fits across the entire portfolio.
I appreciate that, Geoff. So tell us, maybe, can you give us like some of that background? Because a lot of people maybe won't know who Dialpad is. We know who you guys are, obviously. But you guys are a little bit of a new player to the market, and especially given the fact that you're born in the cloud, I think is one of those big differentiators than a lot of these guys that are taking maybe a premise-based system and moving it to a cloud architecture. But tell us a little bit about that history of Dialpad.
Absolutely. We are, while Dialpad has been around since about 2012, our founders have been in the space for a long time. So the initial Dialpad, or some people refer to it as Dialpad version 1, was a company that Craig Walker took over in the late 90s, built that up to be profitable, sold that company to Yahoo. It was Yahoo Voice. So if you remember the little Yahoo dialer, it was called Dialpad within Yahoo. That was kind of the first iteration after they had sold to Yahoo. They left Yahoo, started a company called Grand Central that a lot of people are familiar with. It was that whole aspect around one number for life. That was Craig Walker, and who's our CEO and founder, and Chief Product Officer, Vincent Paquet, left and started Grand Central, one number for life, where it kind of merged. We had all those different devices and all these different phone numbers, and it kind of merged into the same device for being able to check voicemail and receive your calls. That company, Grand Central, was quickly snapped up by Google in 2007, and it is today what the backbone is for Google Voice. Craig and Vincent went to Google. They built out what is now Google Voice to hundreds of millions of users. While there, they worked closely with a couple of the engineers, Brian Peterson and John Rector, who are our other two founders, from a UI perspective and a telephony engineering perspective. They left Google in 2011-ish and started what is now Dialpad. The first product we launched was a product called Uber Conference, and it won TechCrunch Disrupt in New York in 2012. And then we officially launched what is now the Dialpad product, or the PBX or UCaaS replacement product functionality. We launched that in 2014. And you're right. We've had the complete advantage of being born in the cloud, more so than our competitors, being able to be born in a world that already had WebRTC, microservices, things like that, where we didn't have to take an architecture that was built to on-prem and try to move it to cloud with virtualization and things like that. We are
Right.
primarily born in the cloud doing WebRTC across our platform.
So for maybe somebody that doesn't know what really WebRTC is, explain a little bit about that difference, because a lot of people know some of these old phone systems. You know, I'm an old Avaya guy. I think you said you were part of that Nortel
As
Blue,
well.
right?
Yep.
So what's the difference in, say, a born in the cloud as opposed to, say, a lot of these broadsoft companies out there that have this technology stack in a data center, and then it's duplicated maybe in another, one or two data centers in a geo-redundant model? How does it differ with your architecture?
Going back, like I said, I was in these versions at Nortel, and we were doing IP, and the same when I went to Avaya, we were doing IP, but it was still very stack based, and there wasn't really cloud solutions out there competing. I know Ring came to the market, and they have a great product, and they've kind of duplicated that PBX functionality. But there's definitely a technical debt that gets dragged along with those type of technologies. The advantage we've had is we don't have technical debt because we were built in a world that we are fully cloud deployment. We don't even need to have on-premise hardware. In most cases, we don't at all outside of phones if a customer wants it. Everything that we do, the way we're architected is we do all our decision making and all the routing decisions, as well as our software, all lives in the cloud in Google App Engine, and allows us to kind of develop really fast, right? Constantly updating our apps. I think you'll see one of the things you'll see from Dialpad versus other, legacy manufacturers is that we release new features weekly, and they're not invasive or intrusive or anything like that. But our product is constantly getting better in a weekly aspect, just because we can constantly upload our data and change our user set within the cloud. Now, that doesn't mean we're routing everything over Google. We're absolutely routing nothing over the cloud. We're routing traffic over our MPLS and our hard bare metal data centers that allow us to really control the call quality, but get all the benefits of having Google Cloud. So it's what we call a split cloud architecture.
So I know one of the things that we've found is the fact that you guys use a different codec than most providers out there. We've used a lot of different solution providers when it comes to that hosted VoIP, even for us in-house. And one of the things that we found that was really cool about Dialpad, and we are using it in-house today, is the fact that you guys are using that Opus codec. And when we looked at other providers using that G711 or G729 and they're doing that compression, we've noticed dropped calls, deteriorating voice, or maybe the voice kind of goes in and out. We've noticed a lot of stability with that Opus codec. So can you speak to that a little bit and what makes it different?
Yeah, absolutely, Derek. You hit the nail on the head there. It's really our benefit of being born in the cloud and being built in a world where the iPhone already existed, right? I mean, a lot of our competitors didn't have, or pretty much all of our competitors didn't have that advantage to be kind of a mobile first workforce, a mobile first solution. So, being the fact that we're built in the cloud, we were able to use WebRTC. Now, WebRTC does a lot because it gives it, the holy grail of kind of remote work has been can I do this stuff in the browser? Can I send real-time traffic over a web browser? And you absolutely can if your platform is built on WebRTC. So the G711, the G729, the G722, those have been legacy codecs. They've been around forever since we first started sending VoIP packets over data networks. Just to even in the 90s, to get remote workers. There was always some of that going on, and you got your 711, but the 729 gets really compressed, and it's the codec. It's not really adaptive to bandwidth constraints or bandwidth fluctuation. So one of the things that's part of the WebRTC stack is Opus. Now, Opus is super adaptive with your bandwidth going up and down. And now in this world where most of us are working from home, you were constrained by our kids on being on video calls, and our people teaching and other, being in here with your spouse while they're trying to have meetings as well. So everybody's on video. How do we adapt that bandwidth? So one of the really nice things we've seen with the use of Opus, and what's really nice also about it, is you've seen the telephony manufacturers, the hardware manufacturers, start supporting that, where Polycom or Poly now supports Opus on certain lines of their VVX phones. But really what it gives you is, as the bandwidth goes up and down, it kind of re-rates the call, and you might lose video, but the goal is to always keep that audio up. And what we've noticed is, even when we have drops in packet loss and things like that, I think in the day you used to see in G711, G729, if you got like 1% packet loss, you couldn't even understand what was going on the call. You're getting like every 10th word. Where in Opus, it's so adaptive that you can get 5% packet loss and still be able, it's going to be a little choppy, but you're still going to be able to understand what's going on in the call. So We've had a lot of success with that, and it just comes from being born in the cloud.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good explanation. So tell me, Geoff, maybe a couple of other things that might set Dialpad apart with regard to the competition, because we've got a really flooded market these days with UCaaS providers. But Dialpad's got some differences in not just architecture, but also in some of the features that are built into it. Can you speak to maybe some of those features that set you guys apart from that competition?
Absolutely. Great question. So we have 4 products at Dialpad. So we have our Dialpad Talk, which is our UCaaS solution or PBX replacement. We've got Uber Conference, which is our video and collaboration solution. We've got Dialpad Contact Center as well, which is our inbound sales or inbound support contact center. And then we have a sales dialer functionality called Dialpad Sell. So and you're right, it's a totally flooded market. We have multiple competitors in all of those spaces. But what Dialpad's done that's very different is, 2 years ago, we acquired a company called Talk IQ. They played in the same space as Chorus and Gong, and we natively integrated. So the hardest thing that those AI engines have is really getting into the call path, right? And understanding what's going on in the call path and being able to take that through. And most of what they're doing is post-call recording and taking that and giving them post-call functionality. We brought the product in-house and we natively put it in our talk path. So across the entire suite, from Talk to Uber Conference to Contact Center to Sell, you have AI sprinkled through this. And what this is allowing for is real-time transcriptions in calls. Things we call real-time assist, where it pops up based on certain keywords and coaches people on how to maybe better answer a customer or a prospect's call or question they have on a call. So we've sprinkled this across all this, and then we provide post-call summaries and analytics that lets you really dig into the back end and see kind of, you look at maybe game tape. Right, I've got this game tape of everything that happened on all my calls. I can see where everything's being affected and comment on all that. But also in real time, being allowed to, I'm looking at my support agent and I can see sentiment in the call. I can see when the call's not going well and maybe listen in to the right calls versus just guessing which call to listen into live that may need some help. So right. I think it's super important that we've really taken that and we've taken it to the real-time aspect of it, but also allowing for the post-call kind of analytics at the end of it across the entire suite.
So then you're saying you guys do get into a little bit of that call center space. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the AI and how that would benefit, say, a call center agent, maybe real time inside of that call. How can that AI help that agent maybe enhance the call or provide the right information?
Our artificial intelligence, we branded as voice intelligence. So across our whole platform, you'll see voice intelligence. Now, for contact center specific, I mean, it's great across the board, but contact center and sales kind of dialing functionality, it's amazing because what it allows you to do, we'll take it from a couple different aspects. From the agent perspective, they're going to get an inbound call. They're not going to sit there and read the transcript when the call's going on. They're having a conversation here, right? But what it allows them, if the customer says something, maybe asks about how do I reset a password or things like that, it can give them functional information. So they'll get a pop-up on their screen because the word password was mentioned, or how do I reset my password, a phrase was mentioned. It'll show them they said this, right? And even a clickable link to maybe go to an internal site that's going to talk them through all that, how they can talk that customer through it. Likewise, so that's firsthand for the agent. Now, likewise for the the support manager, they can be on a call. They can be monitoring their whole queue, monitoring all the agents in the queue. They don't need to sit and go through and listen to the certain calls that they want. All they have to do is see the sentiment. That's going to be a couple different things. It's going to say it's neutral. It's going to say it's positive. It's going to say it's negative, which obviously maybe you want to try and listen to that one. Or it's going to say if somebody mentions, as an example, a keyword like I want to talk to your manager, or I need a supervisor, or I want to cancel my service, things like that, it can note attention and flag the supervisor that, hey, something's going on this call. Maybe you need to get on. And at that point, they can actually just go into the call and they can view the transcript as it's happening, review everything that's been said on that before they join in, listen in, barge in, take over the call, right? So all that functionality across it. And then from that point, you can take all your analytics and you can look at that, drill down into what happened in the call, moments that happened on the call. So we have moments as well as real-time assists, those kind of pop-ups that allow you to track different data throughout the call across your whole organization.
Cool. So we're talking about linking to knowledge bases and things like that. But what about applications? What about integrations with applications? And where are you guys at with maybe some of the more core applications that people are using, like a Salesforce.com or maybe Microsoft Dynamics? And what's on the roadmap for application integration?
Yeah, great question. So from an integrations perspective, we're active. So we've got a full suite of integrations, and I'll run through those. We also have integrations with companies like Zapier, so it gives us an additional, 200 plus that you can continue to integrate with, as well as we have open APIs published on our API website that we can share with you, so they can go with all the documentation and all the APIs, and we're constantly building on new APIs there. But the native kind of in the box integrations that come with Dialpad, we have Salesforce integration. So from a Dialpad perspective, you'll see that built into the Dialpad app that they're running on their laptop. But for things like Salesforce, we also work as CTI within Lightning. So, and we even do omni-channel within Service Cloud within Salesforce. So in those aspects with CTI, you don't even need to be running the application. You can do it all from within your Salesforce window. We also do that for Zendesk, where it's built into the CTI. Once again, yes, we have, if you're using the application, you've got that integration on the panel there, but you can also answer your calls, automatically open tickets. And in all cases, we're going to flag the summary of the call, the recording of the call, whatever you're doing, to that case in Zendesk or to that contact in Salesforce. No matter what, you don't have to do anything to make it happen. All you have to do is connect them. And every call, even if I answer on my mobile phone, on my Dialpad number, it still logs that information, a full transcript of the call. If I have recording turned on, full recording, anything we talked about, so you can search it. So those two integrations. We also have a native integration with ServiceNow and HubSpot. We have from a business application perspective, we integrate natively with both G Suite and O365. So those are things. We have built a telephony integration into Slack, which a lot of people are using today.
Yep.
If you talk kind of future roadmap things that we're working on, we are working on an integration with Microsoft Dynamics. We're working on an integration for telephony functionality within Microsoft Teams. We already do have, from an Uber Conference perspective, you can connect your Microsoft Teams account and launch Uber Conference right from Microsoft Teams. But we will eventually have the telephony aspect of Dialpad within a Teams environment. So those are just some of the things, as well as we're releasing new APIs every day. So we actually just released a call routing API that lets you make decisions on where you're going to be routing via API, where you can start doing dips and things like that into databases and find that type of information.
Yeah, that's awesome. We see a lot around Teams today and Slack. You mentioned Slack because I think so many people are trying to figure out ways to collaborate, especially as we're more dispersed now. So tell me a little bit about how you guys support that remote worker, because so many people are being pushed out to the edge or being pushed to a work from home model. How do you guys support that? And if somebody were, say, rolling out a new deployment with you guys, what would that look like? Because, you know, a lot of these people working from home, they're not very technical. They might be sales guys, or they just might be support people that don't really understand the technology. How do you help them roll out a remote work atmosphere?
You know, I think going back to where we started, right? We're cloud first. We've been doing this in the cloud forever. And I love, one of our founders, Brian Peterson, always says, work isn't a place you go, it's a thing you do. So we've been ready for this for a long time and ready to kind of kick this off and meet the market when it was most in need. So from that perspective, we are ready. We were ready. We were forced to work from home starting back in March in the Bay Area, where we just kind of jumped to the home office and never skipped a beat and just continued to work, and we're
Right.
productive. And I think, you know, that they've seen that aspect of it. From a deployment perspective, Dialpad is super easy to administer and deploy. We absolutely have deployment packages. They start very low to help onboard people. A lot of small companies, SMB, very small business, they can launch this whole thing themselves. They can, through an API within our application, they port their own numbers over. They do all that stuff. So it's very admin centric. One of the marketing slogans I like, when I started at Dialpad 4 years ago, we had this one. It said, add 1,000 users over a cup of coffee. It's legitimately that easy to do. So you can do that. Now, as you get more complex and you're talking rollouts and you're talking, people want desk phones and they want things like that, we have a remote implementation force, so we can train remotely. We have project managers that are working remotely. We're coordinating number porting. We're getting all your phones configured and then shipped out to you. So all you have to do is plug them in if you have phones, because we can pre-assign them to users. So all of that is kind of the way we've been doing it. We don't really ever have the need to send anybody on site. If they needed that, obviously pre-COVID, that was something we can do. We have solution architects that handle that if there's needs to be a lot of like heavy lifting on site. But for the most part, we've had thousands and thousands. I think one of our biggest deployments, and still one of the biggest deployments in a single night, was Motorola deployed 3,000 users in a single flash cut in their Chicago facility 4 years ago. So before this was really, you know, people were really accepting of the kind of the cloud UC perspective, but to flash cut that many people remotely is amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. So, Geoff, we've kind of covered a lot of different topics. Is there anything else you think that you want to mention that kind of is maybe a differentiator for Dialpad?
Thank you. I really think that where we are in the space today, we're definitely ahead in the artificial intelligence as it's inclusive of the UCaaS and the CCaaS market. So we are definitely at that forefront. A lot of Other players have it, but they have to add. There's expensive add-ons that go along with bringing that in, and being able to do it in real time really sets us apart. I encourage you to, if you're interested in Dialpad, get a demo of it, see how it works, because when I do demos daily, my team does demos daily, people are really blown away by how accurate the voice is. Now, from an accuracy perspective, I think you have to legally say it's like 80%. Mine's pretty darn good, and people see it, and I'm not scared to leave it up while I'm talking, which goes to show how far this technology has come. I think we really differentiate ourselves. We really differentiate ourselves as a mobile first solution, where you've got, yes, we can absolutely support desk phones. We support the Polycom VVX line on our product, but everything is really user interface focused. So our Dialpad app on a laptop, whether it's a Mac, a PC, a Chromebook, a browser, that's all functions exactly the same. And whether you have an Android or an iOS device, the mobile, they're exactly the same. You don't experience anything different. And I think a lot of that inherent user interface advantage comes from, we have a lot of our designers came from YouTube, right? They know how to build a consumer facing product that looks very consumer centric that people like to go to. I liken Dialpad to a consumer looking enterprise application because it's super easy to use no matter what device you're using. And then we bring in all these other functionalities like voice intelligence and our analytics and contact center. So you can use an entire suite of products to make your businesses run better.
Yeah, and I can tell you a couple of things that we love about it. Number one is the fact that you can do SMS to that number. So it's a smart number because I have a lot of clients that literally text my DID, which is awesome because then I don't have to give out my cell phone number. But the other thing too is just the fact that I can move that call from one platform to another. I can open up my cell phone. I can be on my desktop talking to you or a customer or somebody else. And then I can pick up my cell phone, open up the Dialpad app, and it says switch to this device. I just hit a button and walk out the door. That to me is beautiful. I love the fact that I can do that because you know how it is in this industry. We're so mobile. We're taking calls in the car or at a coffee shop or wherever. But that's the things that we just love about it.
Yeah, it's such a functional solution for that mobile worker, for that sales road warrior that's out on the road, and the fact that you can absolutely do that, and as I said earlier, like answer your call, all that data, all that transcript of the call. We've gotten to a point now where I have customers, I have people within Dialpad, they don't even take notes on a call because everything's available to them after the call, and it's automatically put into Salesforce for them. They don't even have to do anything. We're just constantly enabling this structure of work from anywhere. And no matter what device you're using, it just works, and there's nothing you have to do to make that happen. So yes, the mobile, the moving the calls and all that, I mean, it's available. And you also mentioned the SMS functionality.
Yep.
That data actually gets pushed to your CRM as well. So you have all your text, because a lot of the business today is done over text. It's not done over the phone. Some of it is, but people like to text now. Well, I need to have that logged in my CRM as well. And we can absolutely do that at Dialpad.
Yeah, Geoff, this has been awesome. I appreciate it, man, because I love getting into the little intricacies of how different providers work. And like I said, we've really been happy with Dialpad and using it in-house. So any parting words that you want to leave off on?
No, I thank you very much for having us. I love getting the word out about Dialpad. I'm very passionate about this space and about what we've done and what we've been able to achieve at Dialpad. And I think, look out, because the future's bright, and we're excited about where this company's going and where the space is going. So thank you very much for having me, Derek.
Yeah, and guys, if you want to see a demo of Dialpad, feel free to reach out to us here at VocalPoint Consulting. We'll get you set up. I can introduce you to Geoff, and we can talk about it and see if it's a good fit for your business. So, Geoff, thanks so much for jumping in here today. I appreciate it. I'm Derek Roush, and that's the point. Okay, so here's the question, guys. How has 2020 changed the way that you communicate both internally with your employees and externally with your customers? Follow the link below to our LinkedIn company page, and you can post your answer there.